All right. Hello. Welcome to Talkin Investing, everybody. You got Tom here. You got George here. You got Bitcoin at $99,000. We're looking for Bitcoin to hit $100,000 live on the stream today. That is our goal, although we have no control over that in any way, shape, or form. But what we do control, what you guys control, is you can please smash the like button for us. We're going for 100 likes, and then lately we've been getting 200 likes. We're at 25 right now. Let's get people on the stream. People should be excited. We had a nice turnaround today. I got a million things to talk about. I'm not even going to list them out. There's so much going on right now. And we had a big reversal in the Bitcoin miners today. And it was just as everybody everywhere spent the last 2 or 3 days talking about how the Bitcoin miners are dead money, dead forever. And, here today we have a green day. Now, I understand one day, doesn't make up for everything. We're going to take a look at what happened week to date this week. I'm going to take a look at the 2-week window because it's still a pretty disappointing 2 weeks, even with, a couple of good days in there. We'll take a look at year to date. We got all kinds of info coming at you, a bunch of press releases, a bunch of companies doing some convertible notes, and a short report coming out. So a lot of stuff going on. All right, we're at 47 likes. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. All right, so where to start? Start at Bitcoin, $99,000. So this is one of the greatest runs Bitcoin has had ever. And from a dollar standpoint, the last 17 days is the biggest run Bitcoin has ever had since it came into existence. Now, that is not percentage-wise. Obviously, when Bitcoin was trading for pennies, there were times where it went up 2, 3, 4, 500% in, short periods of time. So at 100 grand, you can't do that. But from a dollar standpoint, we are up $33,000 in the last 17 trading days. I mean, I remember, Bitcoin was at 33,000. Now we just moved up 33,000 in, just 2.5 weeks. So this has been a vicious run. The Bitcoin miners didn't really take the ride. I'm going to give you my spin. We'll see what you guys think. I think there's massive upside. So again, we'll start by saying that none of this is financial advice, but I love what I've been hearing all week about how the Bitcoin miners are dead, because that means we are getting close, in my opinion. So I think there's a lot more to come. I know, this is the painful part, but today you can see the big board was straight green today. I did capture yesterday's Bitcoin miner big board because there was on a great day for Bitcoin, there was all kinds of red everywhere. So we'll visit that later as well. And those were the kind of days we were having. And, through Thursday, it was just, this week looked like another nightmare. It kind of recovered itself a little bit today. Several Bitcoin miners up double digits today. George, what are you thinking?
I have to think, Tom. It gets me in trouble. I can just tell everybody that I hit my number. Should I say this? I don't know if I should say this.
You decide.
I made more money this week than I've ever made in my life.
That's a good week.
I'll say that one again. I made more money. I mean, it's just been insane. Like, from when I invested to what I have now it's crazy. I had no idea.
George is in a lot of altcoins. He has had massive conviction on XRP, which is one of the things we're going to talk about today. That has just gone ballistic, and I don't know that it's done. We might be at the beginning of that.
I don't know what I do. George, was that who sort of uploaded a member stream? No, that was not me. That was Tom. I don't do anything like that.
You did the community post.
Yeah, I did the community post, but I don't upload any videos or anything like that. Oh, I did upload one about when Bitcoin hit 94 or 95,000. And then it seemed all day. It was the first thing in the morning, and I was like, oh, we got to do that. It's just going and going and going. And yeah, XRP, I don't think, I mean, not financial advice. I don't know if we'll ever see 50%, 50-cent XRP ever again.
50 cents. I saw $1.45 today.
I don't think we will ever see 50-cent XRP again.
All right. I agree with that. I don't know. I don't know that it's, well, we'll see. I don't feel like it's going to go back under $1. I think we're just getting going here. Sour Melon Gaming, thank you for the super chat, and thanks for being a longtime member. Aggressive dilution killed the miners. Going to be moving some money into MicroStrategy as it continues getting shorted down. Bitcoin hit new high of 100,284. So on my chart, I didn't see us ever get to 100,000. So I am on the Bitcoin, the TradingView Bitcoin Coinbase chart. And let's see. 99,860. So probably depending on what chart you're looking at, it looks like some of these did already go over 100,000. And we've pulled back. You know, this is the 15-minute time frame we're looking at. So we've pulled back, 800 on my chart, or 1,000 if you're looking at one that we already hit 100,000. But I'm showing us at around 99 right now. So let's see if we can rally back up. And, the ETFs are, the day's done. So the ETF stopped buying. We'll see. But we have had after hours rallies. So let's see what happened. So most people are saying they didn't see it hit 100,000. But again, every single exchange, this doesn't trade. These aren't like stocks. They don't trade at the exact same price. So across different exchanges, you'll see things trading at different numbers. So depending on what exchange you're looking at, even if I'll switch here to, this is Bitfinex. So on Bitfinex, we only hit a high of 99,334. So that's $500 difference than on the Coinbase chart. So that's how these work. So, there's a margin of error plus or minus depending on exactly what chart you're looking at. But the point is, either which way, we are knocking on the door. We're Bitcoin $99,000. Are we going to quabble over 100? Yes, we want to see 100,000, obviously. And then the big question that everybody is asking is there going to be profit taking at $100,000? Or are people going to hold on and are we going to blow right through that? And I'm going to tell you, as we've watched over the last, this run that we've had, every line of resistance has proven to be no resistance at all. We have blown straight through. I'll go to that daily chart. We had all these lines of resistance here on this run from November 4th. So we're still in November. On November 4th, I drew this line here at $66,492 because we had these 4 days in a row where we kind of tested that line. We retested it on November 4th. And we've gone from $66,492 to, almost $100,000. So this has been, a gigantic from that bottom. These are the 17 days I'm talking about. From that bottom to the top today, that is a 50% move in Bitcoin, $33,394. It's just been a staggering move. I know the Bitcoin miners did not necessarily participate yet. I will hold out to you. I believe that they will participate. Let's do a poll and see what you guys think. So just a simple, quick yes or no. Our first poll, will the Bitcoin miners rally before the end of the year? There's about 40 days left in this year. Are we going to get a rally? And we'll take a look at what these have done year to date. We'll go do that next and see, you know, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about, because I think there's a lot of ground to make up, and I think we're going to start making it up. There's been a pairing trade, you know, long Bitcoin, short the Bitcoin miners. You can watch, you know, the days that it happens, you can watch. All of a sudden, a half a day's worth of volume comes in 10 minutes, and every single Bitcoin miner simultaneously goes down 8, 9, 10, 12%. So, you know, a big institution just bought a lot of Bitcoin, or, you know, we think they bought a lot of Bitcoin, but we know they just shorted all the Bitcoin miners. The shorts on the Bitcoin miners, in my estimation, are probably at or near an all-time high. And Bitcoin, I don't see Bitcoin any sign of slowing down. So I do think some of this is already starting to unwind. Pessimistic Frank, thank you for being a member. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, AKA Gary Gensler. Okay, you got to change your name because he's gone. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. Not gone yet, though. Thanks for the journey. It's been amazing. And this is from Pessimistic Frank. From cashing in on MicroStrategy, Wolf, Bitfarms, CleanSpark cores, it has been epic. I have a hefty balance in my Schwab because of both of you. Well, thank you, Pessimistic Frank. And obviously, ultimately, it was because of you, because you're the one who had to sit here through, I will go to the chart. You had to sit through these 7 months inside of this downward, basically bearish trading pattern for Bitcoin for 7 months. And so those of you that have hung in there, and I know most of you here have, whether it's been in the Bitcoin miners or in MicroStrategy or in the ETFs or in Bitcoin itself or in altcoins, right? I know we were investing in a lot of different ways, but congratulations, Pessimistic Frank. It sounds like you've done very well. And I have a big article about Schwab. So you're in Schwab. It's one of my accounts. And they put out a gigantic announcement that I don't think anybody's paying attention to, that could be an absolute game changer. Yes.
So what, you know, all those people that were screaming that the top was already in for Bitcoin?
Yeah. Where'd they go? So there was, we went through 6 months of people, you know, and it wasn't everybody, but there was a lot of naysayers out there. There were a lot of people that said 74,000 back in March. That was the end of this bull market. And, you know, that's it. Now we're seeing a lot of people come out the other way. I'm seeing predictions that, you know, to me seem ridiculous. But, you know, who am I to say? But we're starting to see some gigantic predictions on where Bitcoin may go during this cycle. So optimism is through the roof right now. Sometimes I'll say buyer beware when optimism is this high. But you've got a dichotomy here, because optimism is through the roof on Bitcoin, but as of recently, for quite some time now, but it seems to have come to a fever pitch recently, you've got pessimism on the Bitcoin miners. So without naming any names, for those of you who watch other people that talk about the Bitcoin miners, I think you'll have seen conversations on all the other channels. You know, are the Bitcoin miners dead? One person that covers them came right out and said they are dead forever. And, you know, here we are a few days later with a gigantic green day. So, you know, that doesn't prove that person right or wrong. Only time will tell how this works. But I'll tell you, if we look at the poll, will the Bitcoin miners rally before the end of the year? 88% think yes. So this seems to be a reasonably optimistic crowd. I think yes as well. I think the rally is coming. I think we're going to get a portion of it with the Bitcoin miners before the end of the year. I think we're going to get even a much bigger portion of it in 2025. I don't think we're anywhere near where we're going to end up. And I have a personal family member that invested a bunch in this. It's a small amount for him, but he put a bunch of money in, and he didn't really dollar cost average in. He's just watched it over time. And, you know, it just hasn't gone well. And he does not ever believe that his investment's ever coming back. So we kind of had that debate today.
How about the 10K challenge update, Tom?
Well, let's see, because the last time the update was miserable. So
No, it's not the best, but it shows where we are, I think, overall, you know, in the course of this little game. You know, it was $10,000. We put it in probably at the wrong time and probably
right. And we had horrible rules. We were not allowed to dollar cost average in. We just had to invest 10,000, and it was at the absolute wrong time. We got as low as what, like $1,800 at one point?
$1,500. It went to $1,500.
So we got as low as 1,500, and then it rallied all the way back up to what, like $8
grand. It was like 7,900.
And so where are we now?
6,156.
All right, so still a long way to go, but I do think we will surpass, we'll eclipse that number. I think substantially, in my opinion.
100 challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think I mean, I gotta think Mara's gonna run. I gotta think that this whole thing with what they just did with shorting everybody.
Well, you want to go to their chart right now because you're talking about Marathon?
Mara.
That's right. They now want to be referred to as Mara. So I will tell everybody here, I told the members on Tuesday, I did buy at that point one thing and I bought a second thing. So I've been on the sidelines for a while, just as far as putting new money in. I have been dollar cost averaging into the Bitcoin miners for years. I still have some from the previous bull cycle. I dollar cost averaged all the way through the crypto winter and beyond, through 5 of the 7-month, you know, sideways downward trend. And then I took 2 months off. Well, on Monday, I'm going to go to the chart. So on Monday, Marathon put out a press release. We're going to look at that. They followed it up with 3 press releases since then. They put out a press release that they were going to do some convertible debt, and for 2 purposes. $700 million is where it started. I will tell you where it ended, as always, as I predicted when it came out. These are always end up with more demand. So it ended up at $1 billion. And on that news, this is the same thing MicroStrategy does. And when MicroStrategy puts out a press release like that, they go through the roof. Marathon's doing the same thing, and they tanked. So on Monday, if you look at this from the top to the bottom, they were down 16% on Monday. So that's the day they put this announcement out. So I caught almost the exact bottom on this one. I bought a bunch more than I usually do. Usually I put small amounts in when I dollar cost average because, you know, I was doing it. But I took so much time off, and this just seemed to be the most ridiculous reaction I have seen in a long time. So, you know, I got lucky. I didn't get it quite at the bottom, but, you know, I got it within 20 cents of the bottom. And since then, since the bottom on Monday until the close today, Marathon's up 46%. So that, to me, you know, I'm not saying I knew it was about to run 46%. I just thought that the knee-jerk reaction, as is so often the case, there's usually giant buying opportunities on a lot of these knee-jerk reactions, and I just could not pass up that one, and it paid off a lot faster than I expected. Now, I'm not selling it. I will, you know, I added that to my position, and I don't plan on getting out for a while. So, you know, we'll see. Time will tell how that goes. But at the moment, I mean, that is a vicious run to the upside on a week where the Bitcoin miners did not do very well. So you'll see when we go to what everybody did weekly, you know, this was an outlier, and that the weekly will show from the start of that day, not this 16% pullback. We went 16% in the wrong direction first. So that's what happened to Marathon. And so let's go look at where they ended up. Mara Holdings Inc. completes $1 billion offering of 0% convertible senior notes due 2030. So they're going to take $200 million of this and pay off some notes that have a higher interest rate and expire, I think, in 2026. So they're going to get rid of those for, you can see here, 199 million. So 200 million of the billion is going towards that. The rest, I suspect, you know, they do their whole thing, but the rest, I suspect, will be to buy Bitcoin. They are hodling Bitcoin. They are, you know, a distant second, but they are by far in second place for the most number of, you know, Bitcoin on their balance sheet hodl position. Obviously, MicroStrategy, you know, they have 350 something thousand, and we'll take a look because a lot of stuff went on with MicroStrategy this week as well. But this is what they did. So the initial press release, if we look at it, the initial press release just a few days earlier, Mara announces proposed private offering of $700 million. So this started at $700 million. The stock tanked. This ended up at $1 billion. So they're going to be able to buy a lot of Bitcoin even at this price for, you know, they're going to pay $200 million going to debt. And then that leaves them $800 million. So let's close out this poll. Will the Bitcoin miners rally before the end of the year? 86% say yes, we are going to get a rally in the Bitcoin miners before the end of the year. So let's end that poll and we'll do a new one. Typing a new one up real quick. So just another yes or no, because this is a big conversation going on right now. Will Bitcoin find resistance at $100,000 and have a pullback of 5% or more? So that is conventional wisdom right now. This is a gigantic run. I just told you $33,000 in 17 days to run up to, you know, we're at 99,000 right now. You know, we got very close to 100. You know, I think we will hit $100,000, but we'll see. Is that going to turn into some resistance? Because if I go back to this chart, you can see we had lines of resistance and they just, nothing held. And this line, this purple line here, I thought was going to be strong. That was the new all-time high that Bitcoin hit in March of this year, 2024. And I felt like, you know, that would be a pretty natural, strong line of resistance. We moved through that in one day and then had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more green days in a row right after it. And that was really the last line of resistance we had because it was the all-time high. Now we've got some more going on up here as it starts to, we hit, you know, we ran up to a new all-time high of 93,495. Obviously, we've taken that out several times since then. I put a new one at 94,990. I'm going to have to get rid of some of these lines. We're hitting new all-time highs every single day. So, you know, we'll let this run end and see where it ends, and that'll be our new benchmark. George. What are you thinking, George?
Oh, sorry, because I spoke a whole bunch and you didn't hear me. So,
the
next poll should be: would you buy Bitcoin at $100,000?
All right, let's do that. We got a lot of votes in on this one, and it's absolutely split. Will Bitcoin find resistance at 100K and pull back 5% or more? We're at 51 to 49. So that is let's call that a 50-50 split, and let's do George's poll. You want to say would you or will you?
I think will you, yeah. Because I've also changed my opinion on Bitcoin, by the way.
Okay, so after this poll goes up, you can let us know what you're thinking.
Probably want to wait before you decide yes or no. And
Wait to hear what George has to say, because it sounds like he's got a evolving opinion.
well, it's not really evolving. I started saying it about, man, wow, Tom, I guess it was probably, we've been doing this show for what, 4 years now?
Yeah.
I think I started saying it 2 years ago. And now I believe to be more important now than ever before, honestly.
So I put up a poll. Will you buy Bitcoin at $100,000? So we just started getting voting. George, by the way, we just hit 100 likes. So thank you everybody for the likes. If you're here and you haven't hit the like button, we would really appreciate it. It does help the stream out in real time a lot. So thank you for the likes. And if you haven't, consider hitting the like button. So go ahead, George. What are your thoughts on?
Here, my thoughts, Tom, is that at some point in time with Bitcoin, so our humans, our brains, we only think for the lives that we're alive, right? We're only thinking for, 100 years, give or take.
If we're lucky.
100, right? I mean, that's how long we're going to live. But I think that Bitcoin, one of the things we never thought about is think about 1,000 years from now. What is Bitcoin going to look like in 1,000 years from now? And that's the real question, because I don't think people even mention the word Bitcoin. I think everybody will start saying Satoshis, and that's when it gets real interesting. I'm still waiting for the God candle. I think we could have the God candle next year.
2025.
Yes, 2025.
So you got a price target for this bull run, given, everything that's happened up until now?
Yes, I will be sunburned. Man, I mean, I've changed it, Tom. I mean, the activity that's getting in on Bitcoin now is starting to become adopted. And December 10th, I will give you that answer based on what Microsoft does, which I would imagine they're going to buy, because Michael Saylor is going to be the one pitching it. So I would imagine that they buy. And if they buy, that means everybody else is going to buy. And so if that's the case, I mean, I start putting it $250,000. Not financial advice, of course, but
you're going 250,000, and people saying your volume's low. If there's anything you can do to affect that, I'll see if there's anything I can do on my end as well. You're at 100% on my end.
How about now? Is that better?
That's better, yeah.
I turned it up. But I think that's going to be real interesting, Tom. If those guys get in, if the big seven, right? If they get in and they decide that they're going to make a percent, even if they move 10% of their liquid cash, what does that do to Bitcoin?
Even if they move 2%.
2%
of their cash.
I mean, that's when it's going to get fun.
And not only is 2% of the Magnificent Seven's cash a massive number, but it sends a signal to the rest of the corporate universe that this is now a legit asset class and it's okay to hold on your balance sheet. I think the change in accounting method helped on that. I think Michael Saylor is out there being an ambassador, here is going for the big fish with Microsoft. But Sour Melon Gaming saying, I got a $350,000 Bitcoin target this cycle.
It gets real interesting.
And
$2.75
on Bitfarms. Shot at Bitfarms. Listen, I'm with you. We'll talk about Bitfarms. I think they're going to end up good, but right now, the last few things we've seen out of Bitfarms, in my opinion, none of it's been good stuff. So I'll get a little more specific on that when we get there.
Now, Tom, just tell me you didn't have any ego this week. I mean, you know how many people I've told about Bitcoin and XRP and crypto and XLM and ADA? And
see, I'm a worrier.
Solo for free.
you're living a better life because you're enjoying this giant run up, and I'm a worrier. I just sit here and worry that we're gonna have a big pullback.
No, I
So
mean, of course that's possible, Tom, but I mean,
I don't think we're gonna have a big
I don't
pullback.
think I'm going.
I actually think we're gonna keep running from here up. So I think the next move is up, in my personal opinion. I just mentally, you got that voice in the back of your head.
Yeah.
And it's there for a reason. You don't always listen to it, but you can't totally ignore it either.
Well, I think that come the 20th or right around the 20th. I mean, look at do we think that the war, whether we go to World War III, or we are already in it, do you think that's going to affect the price of Bitcoin, or will that make Bitcoin go up? That's the question.
It's really hard to answer that question. I mean, obviously let's hope things have escalated. Let's hope that that trend reverses. And I don't know. I mean, I think escalation in these conflicts causes uncertainty, panic. I don't know that it will be a good thing.
I mean, I think it's just interesting that no one's even talking about it. And we just had one of the most major developments happen this week. We're more closer to a nuclear war than we've ever been, probably in the existence of mankind. And I hate to say that.
Well, I mean, since the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I was not around for.
No, but
the
it's
record.
just crazy to think that, you have a person that probably wasn't even ever able to be president. And, no one's talking about his competence or lack thereof. And my whole thing is, I don't want to go to war. Does anybody?
No, I think obviously on a person and an individual basis, nobody wants to go to war.
It's so nice. I shouldn't tell you guys. I can't. I have a really good connection with Deion Sanders. I don't know if anybody knows who that is.
I'm sure a lot of people know who Deion Sanders is.
And there's some major news getting ready to be announced. And I was just talking to somebody about it, which is a direct report to Deion. And it's just like, dude, Deion, he was a good football player. He was an awesome football player. But man, him as a coach, it's just like unstoppable. I can't wait to see what happens. Oh, this is crazy. This is insane.
Brett says he owns Microsoft and voted yes for carrying Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So thank you for being a member and thanks for voting yes. And Harrison said that he or she, I don't know, voted no. So we got another 50-50 poll here, George. I did exactly like the last one. We got over 100 votes. And will you buy Bitcoin at 100,000? 51 say no. 49 say yes. Here's what I would say. If you're a person that's really disciplined dollar cost averaging person, and you think we're not, into the big part of the bull run yet, then, your theory would be, yes, you would just keep buying Bitcoin at 100, at 105, at 110. Obviously you'll have your own exit strategy as to when you stop and start selling. But, so those I think are the people. I'm having a hard time right now. I got battling forces. I got FOMO. I want to buy Bitcoin, and I've been buying it through the ETF. BlackRock's, and I'm feeling the FOMO to buy in huge, and by the same token, I'm scared we're a little overheated and we're due for a little pullback, and I could get a bargain. But that line of reasoning usually does not pay off in the long run.
It's just not proper at this point in time, Tom. There's just too much good right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like I said, I think I personally think the next move is up, and I think we're nowhere near the top So I'd been saying all along, my price target for this bull market was $150,000. I think mine is one of the lowest numbers out there now. And I certainly won't be surprised if it blows through that. But are we all in the middle of FOMO? That's the question.
I was actually thinking about doubling my position in Bitcoin because my DCA wouldn't be so low that it's worth it. You see what I mean? And listen, I'm with Michael Saylor, where I believe Bitcoin will get to over $100 million. I think he said 240 million.
Yeah, well, I mean, and long term, right, all these numbers can go dramatic. Barry's saying, Tom, you probably won't buy Bitcoin now. If you had bought some a few years ago, the rewards aren't worth the risk. So, you know, I own Bitcoin through the ETF. And, you know, so for me, it would be just dollar cost averaging up. And yeah, at this point, it would be dollar cost averaging way up. But, you know, if I think we're going to Sour Melon Gaming just said it thinks we're going to 350. So, you know, and we've done this before. I watched MicroStrategy hit, you know, 150. And I said, man, I got to take my profits. This thing's gone ballistic, only to watch it hit, you know, 550 a couple of days ago. So.
And here's the other thing that I got to tell everybody, and we have to preach this more now than ever before. Get your Bitcoins off of exchanges. We have to say that because if we start getting these Bitcoin off of exchanges, the price is going to just take off.
Yeah, not only for your own personal safety, not your keys, not your coins, but the less that there is on chain, the more pressure there is on the price. So that's an excellent point. And we're seeing a lot of, I mean, MicroStrategy just bought 51,000 Bitcoin. Those are gone forever, right? They're not, so MicroStrategy's not selling Bitcoin for the next, probably in any of our lifetimes. And you know, the ETFs are buying. Now they do buy and sell, but it's going up and up. So Armand Gaming is saying, Tom, what multiple do you see the miners going from here across the board, from here to the end of the bull market? And I think you got to be in the right miner. We narrowed our list from 19 miners we were following down to 12 miners. I don't think all 12 of them are going to the moon, but I think you're going to see anywhere from a 2x. I do think you're going to see 5 or 6x's in there as well. So I think it just depends on the miner. But in my opinion, I think everyone on the list should at least, if your price target is double, I think that's, in my opinion, I got to say, not financial advice, right? I'm obviously a bull on the Bitcoin miners. I think a double is a very low price target for the rest of this bull market. And there's some of these that I think have tremendous room to the upside. And Jennifer's saying, I think 1 million, but I don't know. You thinking 1 million for Bitcoin in this bull run? Because I've seen several predictions of people at 500,000. I've seen people predicting 1 million in this bull run. You know, in the last week, we've started to see numbers. And by the way, Bitcoin is climbing up. I'm going to go back to the 15-minute. We're back up to 99,450. So it's not out of the question. We could get to our magic $100,000 on this stream. So, and Jennifer's asking, and I'll just go super quick through this. What happens when there's no more Bitcoin left? No, so I'm assuming you mean none left to mine. So there's over 100 years before we mine the last Bitcoin. A lot of halvings left. So, you know, we're going to be mining fractions of a fraction of a Bitcoin by the time this is over. But there is another 100 years left. But Bitcoin will stay around. And, even the Bitcoin miners, they will be collecting fees. Obviously, there's be no when we've mined the last Bitcoin, there will be 21 million Bitcoin. Estimates anywhere from 3 million to 5 million of those are lost and gone forever. So, there's going to be some number actually less than that. And that's it. But we're 100 years away from that.
Yeah, but my question is what happens when exchanges? I think they have to really play some rules on these ETFs.
Your regulations, you're saying?
Yes.
Well, I think regulations are coming, but I think they'll be a lot more favorable. You know, we're getting a lot of signals that they're, you know, it's not going to be the Wild West. Some regulation is good. I'm not a regulation guy, but some regulation is appropriate, particularly in investing when you have a lot of people that, you know, are new to this and inexperienced. And you also have a lot of people with, you know, you've got trading desks with hundreds of billions of dollars or trillions of dollars that can move markets. And we've seen our little universe, just the Bitcoin miners, get manipulated in massive ways over the last several months. So Kevin is being extremely specific. On June 6th, 2025, Bitcoin $212,069. And he said he's been saying that for over the last year and a half. Well, I hope you're 100% right, Kevin. I would be thrilled with that. Like I said, my target was 150, so I haven't changed it. But, you know, obviously now my number is one of the lowest numbers out there. I think I was kind of in the middle when I did that number a year and a half ago-ish. But now I think a lot of people are a lot more optimistic than that.
Well, I mean, I think you have to update it at this point in time. Well, you don't have to do anything, but I think just taking into consideration everything going on, it's getting crazy. I mean, did we break 3 trillion as a crypto market yet?
We're at 3.4 trillion. We now have a new record for the market cap of the cryptocurrency universe. So that happened yesterday or today.
And here's the thing. I mean, would you be in shock if the crypto market tripled from here in Trump's term in 4 years?
I would not be in shock. I'm not projecting that. I'm not predicting that. That would be a lot more than I expect, but I just don't think you can be in shock in the cryptocurrency universe at dramatic moves.
So that's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to pull a triple.
I mean, even the last halving, we went from 19 and change, call it 20,000 to 70,000. So that was more than a triple. So, you know, will we do that again? And that was the smallest one we've ever had. So, you know, all these numbers are definitely in play. I don't dismiss these numbers. They are in play. Jennifer's asking, I'm saying, will Bitcoin ever be 20 to 25,000 again? So I would say the likelihood of that is, you know, in my opinion, that's infinitesimal chance of that happening. What do you think, George?
I mean, you never say never, but if it does happen, it's going to be a flash crash. And I mean, so you could have a flash crash on one of the exchanges down to that low.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a one-off where one person buys one Bitcoin for a stupid number because they're on a small exchange. I'm saying, you know, is Bitcoin going to go down to 20 to 25K? I don't see Bitcoin ever hitting 50,000 ever again. And that is a question you asked a lot of times, George, when we were bouncing around in this range between, you know, 60 to 70,000. Are we ever going to see Bitcoin 50,000 again? I think now, you know, pushing 100, I would be surprised. And only because, not because we haven't had pullbacks that big before, but because I don't think we're done running up to where we're going to end up. And if we end up even at my 150 or the 200 or 250 or 350 that Sour Melon Gaming mentioned, you know, and a lot of people have a lot higher numbers than that.
You're going to laugh at this one, Tom. You know what I like now? You know what I like? And it's not a coin. Well, I guess it could be a coin, but I like silver.
I
And
got
mean,
silver on my watch list. I haven't pulled the trigger on it, but I agree.
I really like silver, and I think silver should pull a triple relatively quick. Again, not financial advice.
That's a bigger move than I'm expecting, but
When you start thinking about it, the applications of silver is in everything.
yeah, there's
It's
a
just,
lot of utility in silver.
I also think that copper is going to plummet. Because you know what happens when Trump gets back in office?
What happens?
The largest mining facility is in Arizona. And I mean, you know, it always gets back to politics. But if they're allowed to mine that, then, and it was all approved last time, but you know, one swipe of a pen.
I'm just reading along here.
But I will tell you this, my stock portfolio is below the number I ever wanted it to get to. It's not much below it, but it's not at the top end of it. It's half of where it was, and it just is so aggravating.
It's your crypto portfolio that's put you to your all-time high here.
I've tripled, almost quadrupled my crypto. And you guys, I told everybody, remember back in I guess it was last November. I think it's been almost a whole year now, Tom. So there was different things I did. I was trying to get a mortgage and take out even more and put more money into it. But uh-oh.
Kevin K saying we maybe get back down to 70,000 again. So, you know, that's possible. Like, I see that as a possibility. Those are the kind of moves that cryptocurrency makes. Even remember when we just flashed, I'll go to the 1 day, we kind of did a flash crash. This was only back on August 6th. We, you know, had a 1 day dive down to $49,000. Now, even on that 1 day, it pulled all the way back. We closed the day at 54,000. So it pulled up 5,000. So we can have flash crashes. I could see, I don't think we're going back to 70, but that is certainly not an outrageous projection. So let's end this poll, and again it's 51 to 49. Call it an even split here. Will you buy Bitcoin at 100K? And I don't even know my own answer to that question. I think I'm probably going to end up dollar cost averaging in, because I am more bullish based on recent events. Having said that, I will tell you that, and again, not financial advice. Please don't anybody do what I do just because I did it, or anybody else. Do your own due diligence, do your own thing. I know all you guys know that, but I did buy two things this week. I bought Marathon on that 15% pullback because that just seemed like absolute insanity. And I bought a pretty hefty amount of iron this week as well. It was already a position that I held, and it was a little bit smaller than some of my other positions, and I wanted to catch it up because to me, I think iron's the #1 most undervalued stock right now. I'm not saying it's the best Bitcoin miner. I think there's several that are undervalued that could make big runs. A couple of days ago, I might have picked CleanSpark, but you know, they're up 16.5% today. So, you know, I don't necessarily want to buy it on a day after it just moved 16.5%. But so those are the two things that I added to this week.
Well, and here's the other thing too. There are exchanges where you can buy Bitcoin and not pay anything. They pay the fees for you. I don't use them, but
All right, trying to type a new poll here.
see. let's see, what did I get into this? I bought Pepe. I bought Pepe this week. Bought it earlier this week. That's been fun. That I bought so if you had XLP, they gave you a coin called Solo. And Solo, oh my goodness, I just thought it was junk, but I got it for free, so I doubled my position, and it's just fun to watch. That's all I can say, guys. It gets really interesting when you like, let's say for example, you put $1,000 in, and now it's worth $5,000. That is what is like so cool. I've never done that with any stocks. I've never put like $1,000 in and then have it be worth 5,000.
I mean, that's a massive, massive run.
That is the best part of it. I mean, it's just like you got to pinch yourself because you don't believe it's real. And then when they all do it, and I don't even think we're in alt season yet.
Well, and there's some talk. I do have an article that's suggesting we are right now moving into alt season. But I agree with you. I think, we did have some really nice runs, but I think we've only just begun here. So I'm going to put these 4 up. We'll start with these 4. What is the most undervalued Bitcoin miner? I said Iron, CleanSpark, and then I put the 2 best performing Bitcoin miners on the year, which by far is Core Scientific and TeraWulf. So which one's the most undervalued? Which one, if you were buying one today, which one would you buy? And then if we may have to do a round robin with this one to get some other ones in.
Tons of alt, but no XRP. And remember how hard it was to buy XRP. That's the reason I liked XRP. When somebody told me I couldn't buy XRP, I'm like, that's the coin. When you make it so you can't buy it, there's a reason.
Yeah, and now you can buy it on Robinhood.
There's a reason.
That's a part of the giant run-up that we've had.
And so the way XRP works is there's a private ledger and there's a public ledger, okay? The private ledger, oh my goodness, if you knew what it was trading for, it wouldn't be private.
XRP's at $1.45 right now. It's up 21% today, 65% this week. I mean, this has been, and George, I know there were times you were buying in the 30-cent range.
I averaged everything together was 33 cents, and that's when I stopped.
Yeah, so I mean, you're gold on this one. This is and this, this might be your biggest position. I don't know your exact portfolio, but with that kind of move up.
So Tom, do you remember and I remember his name. I wonder if he's out here, Iceman Crypto. When you think there's not people manipulating your thoughts, I give you Iceman Crypto. Iceman Crypto used to rip me apart like, you piece of blah. You remember?
Because he thought you were an idiot for buying XRP.
Yeah. But that's what you're dealing with, guys. That is somebody who knew, right? But didn't want other people to experience it. And that's the thing that people don't understand. You don't want to think that that's how it really is. But let me tell you something about hedge funds. And I guess I could tell you a little bit more. I actually spoke with some hedge fund guys today about buying my company. And I don't know what I'm going to do at this point in time, but all they're trying to do is package a product so they can flip it and get a multiplier on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they do. But if they have to create some noise along the way to make it so they can get a better deal, I don't think they would do it with my small company. But I mean, that's what they'll do. I mean, I'm sure, think about how many people that they employ to say things about a stock, to go a certain way so that they can, beat it up and buy it.
Well, it's a similar line of reasoning to, shorting all these Bitcoin miners. They want to make money on the way down, short them, and then they're going to load up on them, in my opinion, and make money on the way back up. So
that's the bad thing about us, Tom. We're not, we haven't spoken to anybody, or we haven't tried to get anybody's attention to help us out. We haven't sold out to the man. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah, a second.
Doing our own thing. So Andrew's saying CleanSpark will be back in the 20s next week. And CleanSpark to 50 says CleanSpark with their 9,000 hodl. So, you know, I said something on the Tuesday live stream, and now even from Tuesday to Friday, I think you're going to see, we're seeing financial statements come out for the Bitcoin miners. They're all a disaster. We've been saying on this channel for months, the quarter ended September 30th is going to be a disaster, right? Because all 3 months were post-halving. We were stuck in that kind of sideways down range for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin averaged $61,000, I think, in that 3-month period. So we're seeing some terrible financial statements. Well, the exact opposite, I believe, is going to be true for the period ended December 31st. We are now already almost $40,000 up in Bitcoin. So remember, the companies that hodl, and I'm going to go to those right now. So here's the companies. This was the hodl of the publicly traded companies as of October 31st. So you've got 4 companies. You do have some more, you know, it's this is nice, 2,600, 1,400, but you've got 4 companies that have significant hodls. So, you know, Marathon has 27,000 Bitcoin. They're going to get to mark each one of those up $40,000 if this price holds till year end. So they're going to make $1 billion on their, you know, and on Tuesday's live stream for members only, I was talking about they're going to make $700 million, but we've run up so much since then. Now it's $1 billion. But even here, like the, you know, Riot, these guys are all going to make $350 to $400 million just on the mark to market on their Bitcoin. Never mind the fact that they're now mining Bitcoin at near $100,000 of Bitcoin. And most of these companies were positive gross profit at $60,000 per Bitcoin. Now, they were, you know, somewhere break even or positive EBITDA, but all of the Bitcoin miners except Hut 8 lost money by gap measure, and not a little bit of money, right? 100 million, 200 million. Some were worse than that. So I think you're going to see a gigantic reversal. And that's a part of the reason, you know, and the big money already knows this. And it's why they did this big shorting, longing Bitcoin, shorting the Bitcoin miners, because they know everyone's looking at these financial statements, which are a nightmare. And the next ones coming around are going to be the polar opposite, in my opinion. Now, obviously, if Bitcoin crashes between now and then, that would change. But that's not what I'm anticipating.
You think we'll get reports on the last quarter before Trump gets inaugurated?
No, especially since the period ended December 31st is a lot of people's year end. So those take even longer to come out. But we're going to get monthly operational updates. And, you know, a lot of these companies, I got one of, so this is what I would like everybody to do. So any Bitcoin miners that are out there listening, not this. So this was Iron's October monthly operational report. So here's a couple of things, and this is why I just loaded up on Iron. So like I said, I bought 2 things this week, not financial advice, but I'm just letting you guys know I bought a bunch of Marathon and I bought a bunch of Iron. And if you look, and I bought it and I waited for Iron to get in the 9s. It got under $10. So to me, that's what I was looking for. It got there, didn't get much under, but it got there. So I bought a bunch. Electricity cost per Bitcoin. Iron's electricity cost per Bitcoin is $20,800. Bitcoin's at $99,000 right now. So all these people who think, you know, these companies aren't going to make money and their business model doesn't work and they're dead and money and it's gone forever, these guys are minting money. So in addition to this, and maybe their energy costs will go up a little bit, right? The quarter before it was 23,000. Even if it was 30,000, you know, at Bitcoin 100,000, or Bitcoin could be 110 or 120,000 by then, who knows? The other thing is, They're at 21 exahash right now. They are still saying they're going to be at 31 exahash in the fourth quarter. So they already mined, what was it, 439 Bitcoin. So if we go, let's go to that chart. So you can see Iron's in fourth place out of all the Bitcoin miners. They mined 439 Bitcoin. That was more than Core Scientific they've passed. So, you know, and if they do what they say they're going to do, they're most likely going to pass Riot as well. We'll see what happens. Riot has big plans and they may get more efficient, but based on efficiency, the number of Bitcoin mined per exahash, Iron could very well be in third place out of all the Bitcoin miners, and its market cap is nowhere near its peers. So if you look at Marathon and CleanSpark and Riot and Core Scientific, they all have market caps 50% bigger, 100% bigger, 200% bigger than Iron is right now. So to me, they're undervalued. Now, there are differences. Iron does not hodl their Bitcoin, right? Marathon, CleanSpark, and Riot all hodl all their Bitcoin right now, between 99 and 100% of their Bitcoin each month. So I understand all these companies aren't built the same, but I feel really good about Iron, and that's why I added to that position. And again, this is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence, because even though, you know, we list 12 companies here and call them all Bitcoin miners, but there are dramatic differences in the business models of these 12 companies. So each one is its own individual company, and you really got to know your company if you want to have conviction and you know, make the right decision. So, and obviously there's never any guarantee of that either. Jennifer said, I am only in Mara. So then you had a fantastic week, because they were the winner this week. Right, if we go look at, let me go to that schedule. I'm jumping all over the place, but okay, so this is this week. So from last Friday to this Friday, Bitcoin was up 8%. So this is the third week in a row that was just phenomenal. And we're going to look at all three of these weeks for Bitcoin, up 8% in 1 week. Marathon up 24%. The Bitcoin miners, and remember, they all had a huge green day today. We had, let's just sidetrack ourselves for 1 minute. Marathon was up 7.6% today. CleanSpark was up 16.5% today. Iron was up just under 11%. Wolf was up 6.5%. Hut was up double digits, 10%. Cypher, 9.5%. Bit Digital up 11%. So, you know, we had some that lagged. Hive and Bitfarms were up 2 or 3%. BitDeer was up 3%. Core was up 3.8%. But, I mean, a lot of double-digit moves and green across the board. So even with this giant day, with multiple of these having double-digit move to the upside, if we look at the week to date, only 2 Bitcoin miners outperformed Bitcoin this week. 2 Bitcoin miners were in the red this week on a week that Bitcoin was up 8%. So Bitfarms down 6%. And we've had a lot in the comments section about, you know, Bitfarms is not performing well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Hive down 8%. Hive had a press release. They're slowly moving in the right direction, but they are a smaller company. They're having a harder time. You know, they're not getting the economies of scale of some of these other companies. But Riot, 0, flat on the week. Iron, up 1% on the week, where Bitcoin hit new all-time highs. I mean, this is when these things should be running. So Core Scientific, which has been phenomenal all year, had a good week. It was up almost double what Bitcoin was up. CleanSpark was up 8%. That was the same as Bitcoin. So I also put together, this is the 2-week period. So this is the last 2 weeks put together, because 2 weeks ago was a nightmare. So if you put these 2 weeks together, you're going to see Marathon up 35%. So they did very well. But Bitcoin up 29% in 2 weeks. I mean, this was a monster run. this was the period where I personally, so I will tell you, I had been saying this is the period I thought the Bitcoin miners would run like crazy. But we saw shorts move into these positions that, just changed the trajectory in the short term here big time. And this shows this. BitDeer up 29%. But if you go to the bottom of this list, I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 Bitcoin miners that were down in the 2-week period that Bitcoin was up 29%. And that is why I believe there is going to be a run to the upside for the Bitcoin miners, because they have a lot of catching up to do, not just from the last 2 weeks, year to date as well. So let's take a look at the year to date. Okay, so you got 2 that are doing very well, and we will bring up, there's one that's beating both of these. That's not a Bitcoin miner, but we do follow, which is MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy is even doing significantly better than this. I want to get into the day that they had yesterday because it was crazy. But Core Scientific, with their week this week, pulled into first place. They're up 228% on the year. TeraWolf's up 210% on the year. And you've got Bitcoin now up 137% on the year. And remember, it had a great year in 2023. So this is back-to-back huge years. Bitcoin bottomed out in November and December of 2022 in the $15,000 range. We are now at almost $100,000. So this has been an epic run in Bitcoin, which follows the 4-year cycle that it has done all along. So will it continue and follow out the rest of the cycle? We'll see. If so, then we should expect much higher numbers. But you're going to see with Bitcoin up 137%, Bitfarms is down 27%. Riot is down 20%. To me, I will tell you, Riot is spent this year trying to do a hostile takeover of Bitfarms. And I think if you look at this chart, and there are several other reasons, but I think this dispute has really wrecked the performance of the stock of these 2 companies. Neither of the stockholders like what's going on here. In addition to that, with Bitfarms, Riot was in last place all year. Bitfarms is now in last place, and that is because they put out, they're not going to hit their year-end target. They have been saying relentlessly all year, even as recently as within the last month, that they were going to hit 21 exahash by the end of the year. They're at when last they just told last week they were at 11.9 exahash, and now they've said they're not going to hit 21 exahash until the middle of 2025. They were expecting to hit 35 exahash by the end of 2025, and they're not even talking about that anymore. So, those are a couple of things that went wrong with Bitfarms. For me, I'm looking at their financial statements. I'm looking at their overhead, which more than doubled quarter over quarter. So, hopefully that's an anomaly, but I'm going to need to wait and see the next financial statements to see if that's a trend that continues, because that was one of the good things. That was one of my positives about Bitfarms. They had their overhead under control in a really good place. So for it to more than double quarter over quarter was not good news. So they've got some work to do. There's reasons why these 2 are in dead last. Hive is still in the red. BitDigital's up 5% when Bitcoin's up 137%. So you can see for most of these companies, if you're holding these companies, you've had a disappointing year, right? I'm holding Marathon. It's up 11% this year. I have Riot and Bitfarms. They're red this year. Those are terrible performance. I would say starting here, you got Cleanspark up 37%. Cleanspark was up significantly more than this 6 months ago. So, I think they have some room to run. One of the members earlier said they expect it to get run to 20 next week. We'll see. That would be nice. They were up at 25 earlier in 2024. So, they're at what are they at? 14 and change now, $14.50 maybe. So, they got a long way to go just to get back to their high from 2024. Iron, Cypher, Hut's up almost 100%. So, there's a lot of room to run, in my opinion, looking at this picture. And I think you're going to see that. I think I don't think you can see by the numbers. people have shorted the last few weeks. The amount of shorts moving into the Bitcoin miners was enormous. So I do think there will be some short squeezes on these. I think, there was one day a couple of weeks ago that Marathon and CleanSpark were up 30% in one day. So I think the shorts got squeezed on that day, but guess what? They moved right back in after that. So we'll see what happens over time. What is the most undervalued Bitcoin miner? So on this list by far, so because Core Scientific and TeraWolf are the two best performers, almost nobody picked them. CleanSpark 64%, Iron 23%. Let's just do a group of another 4. George, what do you think on most under?
I'd pick CleanSpark. I mean, that's a no-brainer out of that list right now.
But how about the next 4?
I don't even know. Look at that, 147 XRP is back up. I like Marathon. I still think Marathon is really undervalued, Tom.
So let's put them on this list. We're going to do another list, and then we'll have a finals round and see who wins. So I'm going to go Marathon. I'm going to go Riot. Riot and Bitfarms are in last place year to date, right? So theoretically, they should have the most room to run. Now, also theoretically, there's a reason they're in last place. So we'll see what people think.
When do you get out of Bitfarms, Tom?
I know I've been holding my Bitfarms for years and years and years, and I will wait at least 2 more monthly operational reports to see what's going on, to see if we get some more clarity, to see if we get some movement in the right direction. And the last straw will be if the next quarterly financial statements come out and their overhead is not back in control, or they're not super specific that, because they're in the middle of a hostile takeover. One of the members talked about the fact, they may have a lot of legal fees and other additional fees that are more one-off than going to be reoccurring over time. So if they got to drill down a little, clarify, and tell me what's going on. So if they're not improving their exahash and they're not improving their overhead, then at some point, you're the one who says this is always a fluid situation. So at some point, if your thesis isn't playing out, you got to change your mind. I'm not ready to give up on Bitfarms this quickly. This really was the first monthly report that I was very disappointed in. So I'm certainly not giving up after 1 month.
Here's what bothers me, Tom, is they don't explain the reasons why. They just say, we're changing it. And they don't give us any clarity on what happened.
More clarity, for sure. We need more. The more information we can get, even if it's not good news.
Right. And
the more we know, the less uncertainty.
Right. And that's what bothers me. And I was hoping with Ben being there that this wouldn't be the case. And I mean, we just 30 days ago, not even, like maybe 15, 20 days ago, they were still touting their old numbers.
So I will go to bat for Ben. Ben was put in a very hard situation, right? They went from what started out being explained as a mutual separation with their CEO, and he was going to help find the next CEO, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one day it was he's fired, and then now he's suing Bitfarms for like $24 million. So that's not at all how they explained it. So that was a bad sign. And now you've got Ben. He's never been in this scenario. He's a younger guy. It is what it is. So, the experience isn't there. The experience at the CEO position isn't there. He's got a board of directors probably putting massive pressure on him to say certain things, do certain things. So I'm looking to see operationally, they're performing very well. And that was always Ben's thing. So, that's what keeps me in the game with them. Operationally, and I'll go back to that chart and just show you what I'm talking about. I'm
talking about since he became the CEO. I'm not talking about you bring up all that other stuff. That's great. That's fine, understanding. But since he's been CEO, he can take and he can tell us what's going on because he knows. He knows without a question of a doubt what's going on. Agreed?
He does, but remember, he answers to the board of directors, and he's got some people with a lot of seniority that have been there a long time that may be telling him,
Board of directions, the current person who started Bitfarms, whatever that guy's name is handcuffed Ben. Count the days.
So Ben might be in a sticky situation, and it could be. I mean, you called that the day that this happened, is that Ben's run is going to be short and ugly, and he's the transition guy that they're going to blame everything on, and they're going to move on. But I will give him more time, because here, Bitfarms, out of these companies, Bitfarms was in 6th place in October when Ben was CEO. From a production standpoint, they had a phenomenal month of production. So that's the thing I always loved about Bitfarms the most. Now, if they're not going to grow, you've got to grow. We just had a halving. They told us they were getting to 21 exahash. That was going to accomplish all the goals they needed to do to stay on the trajectory that, I wanted them to be on. But if that piece isn't going to happen, it doesn't matter if they're super efficient at doing what they're doing. If they can't keep pace with the reward being cut in half, the difficulty level being at an all-time high, if you're not growing, you're shrinking.
Well, and then the other thing too was this was the whole reason for Stronghold. I mean, one of the things that I like that could still happen is this purchase for Stronghold and they flip and become a U.S. company. They're going to have to do that to save their butt.
Well, and I see, let's see here. Robin, who is a member, thanks for being a member, said, all the bad news has been priced in for Bitfarms. 2025 will be a record breaker for them. So I hope you're right, Robin, if they can give us a little clarity. And I'll say the same thing I said about Marathon, which is now, Marathon now mines 717. I went back and found a chart where they were in last place out of all the Bitcoin miners in Bitcoin mining for the month. And it was one of the months in 2022, and they had shut down their operation. They had that old coal operation, and the new one wasn't up and running, and they mined like 70 Bitcoin in the month. They were in last place. And even then they were talking about big numbers. And I was very, very critical of them, but I did always put the caveat in, if they ultimately do what they said they're going to do, they're going to run. The question is, are they going to do it? And they missed by a year. So, let's see what happens with Bitfarms. Like Robin is saying, the bad news is priced in, and that doesn't mean it can't go down. It's been down near $1.70, and it's still hanging around $2. So there's a little room to the downside, but I don't see a catastrophe happening there. And if they can turn the ship around in the next 3 to 6 months, they could run. That's why I will wait and see. Obviously, I think we're all very disappointed with the last several things that we've heard from Bitfarms, but I'm not calling it on them, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you're still up on them. I mean,
I dollar cost averaged in. I bought some of my shares of Bitfarms at 30-something cents. So I'm way up on that position.
Well, I guess you look at it, compare Bitfarms to XRP.
Right. I mean, XRP just went wild. But what if that happens to Bitcoin? $2 if Bitfarms runs to $6, which is it was at $9.36 in the last bull market.
But that's my whole point though, is this. It's not necessarily bad if you bought it, if you DCA it all the way down.
And John is saying, Tom, watch Micro Macro. He will explain in one of the recent videos. So I think he might be talking about Ben. And Old Jock is saying, Ben venturing into the lion's den, he'll need his wits about him. So he's in a tough spot, and I'm real torn on Bitfarms, but like I said, I'm going to give him some more time. That's just my personal opinion. They did have I may have this up somewhere. They had their special meeting. Bitfarms announces results of special meetings. So this is all the stuff we knew that was going to happen. The expansion of the board from 5 members to 6 members. 98% voted in favor of. The election of Andrew Chang. 98% voted in favor of. So this was this compromise with Riot where things have... The rhetoric has cooled down between Riot and Bitfarms. This was like an ongoing war, hostile takeover scenario. Some changes have been made. As a Riot shareholder as well, I'm more frustrated as a Riot shareholder. I think they ought to just get out of this and get better at what they do. They've got the infrastructure to be a behemoth. They don't need Bitfarms.
I know. But if they did that, Bitfarms would plummet.
Well, they hold 19.9% of Bitfarms stock. So yeah, you know, I assume they wouldn't just dump it in one day, but I would like to see them move out of this. And if there's a giant pullback and Bitfarms starts doing the right thing, maybe there's a big buying opportunity in here somewhere. I don't know.
Is that better, Pierre? I turned up my mic more.
Let me get to a few things because I haven't gotten to a lot of stuff. Here we go. So this should bring joy to some of you. SEC Chair Gary Gensler, who led U.S. crackdown on cryptocurrencies, to step down. So if you guys remember, I think it was actually at the Bitcoin conference, Trump did say he will fire Gary Gensler on day 1. So guess what? Gary Gensler just announced he is stepping down on Inauguration Day. So rather than get fired, he's stepping aside. He's out. He will step down from his post on January 20th.
I thank this man.
You thank him because he held XRP down for you to accumulate.
Thank this man. This man is my hero.
Yes, but is that what he did for all of his cronies as well? I mean,
yes.
I'm just asking a question. No.
He's asking for a friend. But that's what he did. I think, you know, we paint him as a villain, but if you're in this space, I mean, he really got us a chance to understand it a lot more, to really see what was going on. And I don't know if you heard that FedNow did announce that XRP is involved in FedNow, which, you know, I screamed about way back when, but that was another catalyst.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean, think about it. We don't need banks anymore, which is crazy.
I'll tell you an experience I just had a couple of days ago. It occurred to me, and I made way back when I made some XRP videos, I opened a KuCoin account because they were trading XRP. So I was showing people, here's the steps, here's how you buy it, here's how you sell it, blah, blah, blah. So I forgot that account even existed. So I went to log into it just a couple of days ago, and I had forgotten and realized when I logged in, the US banned them. Gary Gensler banned them from doing activity in the United States. So he basically came after every single exchange out there pretty much. I'm sure you guys can mention some exceptions. He came after Coinbase vigorously.
Yeah. That's why, Tom, I mean, when you come after something so hard, it intrigues me.
Yeah, and he and is right. His number one battle of all time, obviously, clearly, was with XRP.
And I hate to say this statement.
And Ripple.
I won't say this statement. Yeah, CleanSpark. I think CleanSpark should have a short squeeze.
Right. If we go to the CleanSpark, let me see. I felt like I had that open, but maybe I don't. Switch over to CleanSpark. So to me, I have been saying this was a natural trading range for them. You know, the low was 14. The high, they did get, you know, they even got outside of my box, but $14 to $20. You know, they were bouncing up and down at numbers, at Bitcoin numbers substantially lower. And so to me, I think they have finally, you can see this grouping right here, they finally moved back into this range. They, you know, they had a bad couple of days. It looked like they were moving out of it, but I think you're going to see them. So somebody said they're going to hit 20. I do. I think these guys should retest 25 and go beyond 25, in my opinion. This is another company that operationally, to me, they have done every single thing they said they were going to do. And they mine, you know, let's go to the chart. They mined 655 Bitcoin in October. They mined almost as much Bitcoin as Marathon. These guys have turned into an absolute monster. But if you look at them, they have half the market cap of Marathon. I think they have a smaller market cap than Riot. I think they have a smaller market cap than Core Scientific. I mean, 655 Bitcoin. That's a huge month.
I don't know if I should even bring this one up, but I'm going to. I agree 100%. He was just the man doing the job. Do you think that they can go back to FTX and open up the bankruptcy to show who did what and what was done?
Oh, go take a look under the hood and see a little more details.
That's what I want to see. I'm telling you right now, that one's interesting.
I think there's an awful lot of people that don't want that to happen.
I know. That's why I want it to happen. I wonder if anybody, can they? I guess they could, right?
Here you go. This one's for you. Jason said XRP is trash.
Yes, it is. All we're doing is funding, whatever his name is, Brad Garlinghouse. We're just funding him.
So Jerry brings up a good point. Gary was totally into crypto before he was hired by the government. If you remember way back when he was initially appointed, everybody was like, this is a guy that knows about cryptocurrency. He understands it. This is going to be great. And then it turned into a nightmare.
I will just bring us back 2 short years ago when I was buying XRP. I was losing so much money, and everybody on the stream would just rip, and I just kept going. Every week I bought religiously. I took my paycheck and bought, and that's with what I did. And I did it every week for months and months and months, knowing at some point in time it would turn. And here's the thing. Did you see, somebody made a clip, and I don't know if it's true or not, of Bart writing up XRP will go to $589.
Hey, we'll take it.
Hey, I'll take $5. That's all I care about. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to do a lot more, but
a buck 45 is a home run. $5 is a grand slam home run.
Yeah.
Welcome, Pug. Thanks for joining us. Special welcome to all the members. Thank you very much for joining us on the stream. And Robin said, Bitfarms has been trading over 50 million shares a day. Somebody is absorbing the stock into a portfolio. So I will tell you, on the days that these companies went down, and I'm going to find that chart. This was Thursday. So if we go to Bitcoin, this was Bitcoin on Thursday, right? Giant green candle. And then this is the Bitcoin miners. CleanSpark down 7%, Riot down 3%, Iron down 3.7%. Marathon was up. Marathon had a great run all week this week. Core was up 1%. Everything else red. MicroStrategy, for a different reason, was down 16%. So Citrus, I think it was Citrus, came out. Basically, I wouldn't say it was a short report. They basically said they think that MicroStrategy is way overbought. And their strategy is they are buying Bitcoin and shorting MicroStrategy. So if you look, I want to go to that chart. I don't know if we did this or not, but this was dramatic. I think we looked at this just in one day from the morning right after that news came out. In one day, this stock went down almost 32%. This went from over $540 to like $370. Now, I did see somebody mention they bought that dip, and that, you know, that could end up being a smart thing to do. I'm still very conflicted over MicroStrategy, so I will tell you, I'm afraid to buy this stock. I just am. And I know we have one member that has made a fortune on this stock, and Edmund. So, you know, congratulations, Edmund. I know this has been your stock. You've made a fortune on it. You had one bad day, but, you know, it's already bouncing back. MicroStrategy was up 6% today. And but I'm still not sold on their formula. The market certainly is in the short term. I mean, they've run like wild. Even with that pullback that we just looked at, year to date, they're up 600%. So Edmund caught all 600% of that. So congratulations to Edmund. And they may continue to run, right? I mean, that was a golden opportunity. If ever you were looking for a pullback and a chance to buy in, it was provided to you yesterday on MicroStrategy. Right, but this is an $88 billion company. It did reach early yesterday morning, this got over a $100 billion market cap company. And this was a $1.5 billion market cap company 5 years ago. Right, if I go back 5 years, this is up 2,867% in the last 5 years. So, you know, beat that. Just reading my notes because I know I've missed a lot of stuff today.
It's just fun, Tom. It's just, you know, anytime I talked about crypto to people, they always looked at me like I was nuts. And now they're like, oh, Bitcoin's about ready to hit 100K. You know?
Yeah. Well, this is exactly what happens. This is what people don't pay no attention. And then the FOMO kicks in. And that's where we get our blow off top. And I don't even think we're near that yet. We are not at max FOMO, in my opinion, by any stretch of the imagination. And on the Bitcoin miners, we haven't even begun the FOMO. We still have people shorting. So one of the things, my point on this showing, where was it? This Thursday, where everything was red. On these days where Bitcoin was up and the Bitcoin miners were down, all these miners that were red had double or triple their average daily volume, and they had, 50 or 75% of their average daily volume in the first 20 minutes of the day. And that's when you saw the stocks all go down simultaneously in a straight line. So when you see monumental amounts of money move into all of these simultaneously and have them all tank on gigantic volume, that's just somebody coming in and shorting the whole sector. And remember, this whole sector is only a $20 or $25 billion sector. So, if you're longing Bitcoin, which is coming up on a $2 trillion asset, it doesn't take much. If your strategy is long Bitcoin, short the Bitcoin miners, there's an awful lot of room in there. And now Citrus came out and said their strategy is going to be to long Bitcoin and short MicroStrategy. Well, that tanked them for one day, but they seem to be recovering the very next day. Let's see what this is doing. Most undervalued Bitcoin miner. This one's much, much closer. Marathon, 31%. Riot, 26%. Bitfarms, 37%. So if we were to just do a runoff final here of the top four, would be all right. These were the top four finishers among the two groups. So we'll do this is for the finals. This is for all the marbles. Which Bitcoin miner is the most undervalued? So Bitfarms, Marathon, CleanSpark, Iron. Those were the four that got the most votes. So while we're looking at that, we'll just talk about a couple other things that happened this week. Michael Saylor MicroStrategy added 51,780 Bitcoin. They'd spent $4.6 billion on Bitcoin. They now hold 331,200 Bitcoin. So that is by multiples the most amount of Bitcoin that any publicly traded company in the world holds. And I'm not talking about companies that custody other people's Bitcoin. This 331,000 Bitcoin, this is MicroStrategy's Bitcoin. And in second place on that list is, let's go to the video. In second place on that list is Marathon at 27,562. Now they're probably going to add another 700 that they mine on their own, and we know they just borrowed $1 billion, so they may buy 5,000 Bitcoin, 6,000, 7,000 Bitcoin. So their hodl is growing. Edmund is saying MicroStrategy to $3,650. Good for you. Just hold tight. Trust in Saylor and sleep tight. Man, if that thing gets to $3,650, that would be phenomenal. Oh, so somebody's mentioning BlackRock. So I do have an article. I want to point out this is how big Bitcoin is. It's just redefining what's going on. Let me find this article. Oh, and I didn't get to my other. I got two big things left I want to go through. Where? Here we go. BlackRock's iShare Bitcoin ETF Trust has become the fastest growing ETF in history. And listen to how much fast this didn't just break the record. This redefined things. Exceeding $30 billion in assets under management. According to Eric, whoever, senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg. Sorry, Eric, I just didn't want to mispronounce your last name. IBIT reached this milestone in just 293 days. So in 293 days, BlackRock's ETF got to $30 billion. The previous record, JP Morgan's Equity Premium Income Fund and gold and the major gold ETF growth reached $30 billion, not in 293 days, 1,272 days and 1,790 days. So years and years, 4 years, 5 years. This thing did it in way less than 1 year. So this is what I talked about the day these started. I predicted that the Bitcoin ETFs would drastically outpace the gold ETFs. And you can see the gold ETF took 5 years to get to $30 billion. Just BlackRock's took 293 days. So big money is moving into Bitcoin, and it's only just begun. So this is BlackRock's piece of the puzzle. While we're at it, let's just take a look at what the ETFs did because they are posting phenomenal numbers. Yesterday, over $1 billion, 600 million of which was BlackRock. Over $1 billion yesterday, $773 million the day before, over 600 million of which was BlackRock again. So BlackRock is in big. The ETFs are in big. Even with $20 billion of outflow from the Grayscale Trust, there's still $30 billion in all these ETFs. Conversely, Ethereum, which seems like it's got some signs of life, if you look at their ETFs, this is dead money. After all these months, they just had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red days in a row, and they're plus $19 million. So to put that in perspective, the Bitcoin ETFs are plus $30 billion. The Ethereum ETF is plus $19 million, all of them put together, for whatever that's worth. And now to what could be, if this happens, monumentally huge news. Not to oversell it, but Charles Schwab wants to directly offer crypto to clients, incoming CEO says. So Rick Wurster, who will step into the role of CEO in the new year, said that the bank has been waiting on a change in the U.S.'s regulatory environment, which he expects to happen soon. Financial services giant Charles Schwab has planned to directly offer crypto investments to its clients. This is not offering the ETFs. He wants to sell them cryptocurrency. President and incoming CEO Rick Wurster told Yahoo Finance in an interview on Thursday. So to put this in perspective, you go, oh, Charles Schwab, some of you may have an account there or one of your accounts if you have many. Who's Charles Schwab? Here's who Charles Schwab is. Total clients under asset, $9.85 trillion. I mean, this is BlackRock level stuff we're talking about. That's almost $10 trillion. Now, that's not under their management, right? Because they're not like BlackRock. They have $10 trillion worth of customers' money that if they get their way, they're going to want to sell Bitcoin and cryptocurrency directly to this $10 trillion. So, as you look around at the amount of money in the world, it just blows my mind. There's 10 trillion here. There's 10 trillion there. It's an endless supply. And this would be a game changer, right? If just a couple of percent went into this is $10 trillion. So we'll see. Obviously, this isn't going to happen overnight, but his words were expect to happen soon. So go ahead, George.
That's like a lot of like institutional retirement fund money, correct?
There's a bunch of that, but there's a lot of, I have a Schwab account. There's a lot of retail investors that just have their money, at Schwab.
Do they ever break down like percentage of net worths of their customers or anything like that?
Well, let's do this because there is another number in here that's important if I can find it. They have 36 million customers, 36.1 million active brokerage accounts. Then to your question, George, 5.4 million workplace plan participant accounts and 2 million bank accounts. So these guys are monsters. This is the largest, what do you call it?
Trading?
This is the largest broker in the United States. So this is just another piece of potential adoption that sits out there. I mean, every single stream we bring up something, some gigantic piece of potential Bitcoin adoption that is only going to serve to drive the price of Bitcoin up over time. You know, yes, no, they're not all going to happen simultaneously tomorrow, but this is an endless stream. We haven't even just hardly begun for money to come into Bitcoin, never mind the rest of cryptocurrency.
We've only just begun. Sorry.
And Jennifer saying, I have a Schwab account. So, I mean, yeah, a lot of people, they have 36 million accounts. Probably a lot of people watching here have a Schwab account.
Didn't they buy out E-Trade and didn't they buy out TD America?
They bought out TD Ameritrade. Somebody else bought out E-Trade. Maybe it was them.
I think it was them. Morgan Stanley.
This Morgan Stanley. This is Charles Schwab.
Oh, aren't they the same?
They are not. Oh, this is a tight race. Which is the most undervalued? If anybody wants to put a vote in, Bitfarms and CleanSpark are tied right now at 29%. So for all the hate and shade thrown at Bitfarms, they're tied right now for the lead on the most undervalued Bitcoin miner with CleanSpark. And Marathon not far behind at 25% and Iron at 16%. So all four of these, so there's a reason these were the top four vote getters. And this is very, very close.
I picked Marathon.
You went with Marathon?
Yeah. But, I mean, thinking about it, probably Bitfarms is the most undervalued. But I don't know if they're going to run. I just don't know.
I'm going to kick myself for not dollar cost averaging into Bitfarms more. Unless, you know, what I'm trying to do is, and I've been trying to hold on because I did so much buying the dip. If you guys remember, I mean, it was a running joke. Hey, let's buy the dip. Let's buy the dip. It's like, how many times can you buy the dip? There was 100 dips. So I took a break for a little while. And there were three that I wanted to move into, and I got into two of them. I got into Marathon, and I was already in them. I just added to my Marathon position. I added to my Iron position. I wanted to add to my CleanSpark position, but I just didn't feel like the opportunity presented itself. And I would consider, you know, I will wait, and I may miss. But if Bitcoin pulls back and there's an opportunity, if Bitfarms gets into the like $1.80 range, you know, I might buy some more. I kind of have them on probation, but, you know, at some point it's too good to be true.
I think it's going to get in that $1.80 range, by the way.
Yeah, maybe that wouldn't surprise me at all.
$1.88, $1.86.
And Edmund is saying his son is an executive at Schwab. So nice. Very nice.
I want to know how many accounts have like 7 figures in it. Like, that would be interesting to me.
I'm sure it's a lot. I mean, you know, it's a small, as a percentage, they have 36 million accounts. So it's a small percent, but I'm sure they have thousands or tens of thousands.
I don't think it's 10%, do you?
No way. No way. Even if they had 1%, that would be a massive amount.
360,000. It's probably something like that. It's sad, you know?
Yeah, and so if you're in Schwab and you got $4 million in there, you know, are you going to put, you know, 2% or 5% of your money into Bitcoin or across a couple of cryptocurrencies? It's just, this will just be a game changer. And if Schwab does it, then the dominoes will start to fall because the rest are going to have to do it just to keep up. We still have Vanguard, I still think, won't even let people buy the ETFs.
So here's what you're telling me, Tom. Uphold or another smaller crypto company is going to get bought out.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
That's what's going to happen.
So Andre brings up a point. I'm expecting Iron to mine nearly 650 Bitcoin per month starting in January. If they meet their 31 exahash target by the end of December, if they hodl half, that's 300 to hodl every month. So, and the other half of that equation is, yeah, at 600 or 650 Bitcoin a month, that's going to put them solidly in third place. And if we look, you know, if I go to their competitors, CleanSpark's just under a $4 billion company. Riot, which is the worst performing stock of the year, even being the worst performing stock of the year, they're a $4 billion company. Core Scientific is a $5 billion company. Now, they have a big AI piece to them, I understand, but Iron is going to mine significantly, maybe 75% more Bitcoin than Core Scientific. And then you've got Iron. They're a $2 billion. So they're half the market cap of the companies that are, in my opinion, in their neighborhood. And that's why I would pick Iron as the most undervalued. I think all four of those are undervalued. I think all four of those are going to have huge moves to the upside over the next 12 months. So, obviously do your own due diligence and be careful, because the other thing I haven't said that we say every video and every live stream, the volatility is real. We see it. So just understand, know it, you got to be able to stomach the volatility if you're going to be in this space, because we get weird things and wild swings.
I had a really good week, White Rabbit.
Young to retire.
I could have retired a long time ago, but I just do this for.
I feel like retiring under 70 in this day and age, maybe that doesn't mean you're not working 60 hours a week until 70, but it's not time to go home and hang it up. In my opinion, that's just how I think.
I'm going to tell you, let me back up and tell you why Tom and I started this stream way back when. And it's actually kind of important, because if you think about it, the hedge funds are doing it to us right now, Tom. And
right.
That is, they want your money. They don't want you to become successful. They don't want you to have any savings. And I mean, the great example has been the attack on the Bitcoin miners the last week.
That's right. This artificial price action on the Bitcoin miners is large institutions and hedge funds trying to take retail investors' money, in our opinion.
We did this because we felt that there was an opportunity in crypto and Bitcoin miners to make money, the life-changing money for people. And just, I mean, for me, what's already happened in my life has been life-changing money, Tom, just so you know. Right.
And I know there's a lot of people on here that feel the same way. And I want to point out somebody, let me find it. MicroStrategy to 3,650 said, my Schwab account is well over 1 million, well over.
Right.
So there's a lot. Go ahead.
I mean, I think this is, thank you, Tom, because, you're the one that even kept me from jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge. I mean, because it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. And he says the same thing to me. I know, it's going to be okay. Don't worry.
It's super hard. It's super hard. That's why having a group, that's special thanks to all the members, because, having a support group and a system like this is how we get to the finish line. And you're exactly right, George. And thank you for all the time you spend as well.
Yeah, not nearly what you do, but.
And special thanks to all of our members. Thanks to all of our existing subscribers. If you're not a subscriber and you like the Bitcoin or the Bitcoin miners, consider hitting the subscribe button. We're at 162 likes. Consider smashing the like button. Let's see if we can get back up to 200 likes. I think we're pretty much through everything we were going to talk about now. Bitcoin is hanging around at $99,000. So we didn't get the magical run to 100,000 during our stream, but 99,000, I think we'll all take it.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Any parting thoughts, last words?
Tuesday, private stream, 4:15.
Yes.
Know what you hold. I don't, just so you know, for me, I'm not cashing out. I did cash out and reinvest, but I'm not ready to cash out yet.
And my plan is to hold for well into 2025. So I'm in the same position. We do have a winner, which is the most undervalued. At the last minute, CleanSpark pulled into first place, 30%. Marathon and Bitfarms tied at 27%. But in my opinion, you can't go wrong with any of these. Not financial advice. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, and I hope everybody has a phenomenal weekend. And maybe the next time we get together, we will have Bitcoin over $100,000. Thank you, George. Thanks to everybody. And to the members, we will see you on Tuesday. Good night.